Yeah, because we're still streaming.
He's got her feet up on the bed.
Did change the batteries this time.
And we ran out of juice, didn't we?
Kept going on.
That's because Kevin kept talking. Yeah, don't say anything bad.
Okay, I'll call our work session for the South Madison Community School Board of Trustees to order. We'll start the meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, I was waiting for you not to skip. Under God. I knew you were going to.
We'll now observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Dr. Hall, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are no adjustments, President Hyde.
Our core purpose is success for all students. Our core goal is at least 90% of students pass language, arts, English, and mathematics on state assessments. Our core values under character, we will continue to be an institution guided by ethical strength. For students, we will continue to put students first in our priorities and our decision-making. Service, we will continue to be an organization known for its servant spirit. And stewardship, we will continue to embody the qualities of stewardship. Nobody has signed up to address any agenda items, so we'll go right into the work session. 2.1, our student enrollment maps. Dr.
right.
Hall.
Okay, well, I can see Brittany's coming down the hallway, so she'll put what I'm talking about up on the screen in just a second.
Okay.
So we've got a hodgepodge of topics tonight, but the first one is the student enrollment maps, and this was something that we actually stumbled across, but we actually think is really pretty neat, and it's something we're going to be able to use, and so I wanted you guys to be able to see this. So we were looking at, if any of you've ever seen our district boundary maps, they're not great, and they were, I don't know when or who drew those, but they're almost impossible to read. So we were working in Google Maps and trying to make new districting maps, and we found a feature where we can actually upload all kinds of things. But one of the things we did, this doesn't identify any kids, but what we did is we uploaded all the addresses for every elementary kid in the district, and then so what it does is it shows you the distribution of where all these kids are at. And so one of the things I thought was interesting, I'm not sure why that one didn't come up, but it's behind me. So what this does, by elementary school, we only put the elementary schools right now, and I'll zoom around and show you because this is really big, but things I found interesting, like if we take off, I can unhook Maple Ridge and I can unhook East, so we'll just start with East. So there's where all the kids at East Elementary, that's where they live, and we can zoom up, but what's interesting, you can see how far away they are. So we have them out here in Cadiz and Newcastle. Now this isn't a perfect system because we're still working on it. What it really shows is where houses where kids are, because there could be more than one kid in there, one or two kids in a house. But we think we've got a solution for that. We just didn't get a chance to look at it. But one of the things I thought was interesting is we started looking at, because everybody, we know we have people in the new houses. But if you look at East, if you look at East, it's dense down here in Marklettville. But if you look, it's really not very dense out in Adams Township. So they're spread out. That's like all these, a lot of these kids. But if you look up here too, you can see a lot of our East kids are all the way up into here, which is up in here in Anderson, because we have a lot of our non-resident kids up there. So we had the farthest north I saw was Alexandria, which is where I'm at right there. Well, actually, that's not Alexandria. Alexandria is all the way up there.
My.
So we have a kid for at least one household that goes to East. But when we were looking at the old neighborhoods, this is what I thought was fascinating. When I say old neighborhoods, I'm talking about Fiddler's Green, I'm talking about Hickory Hills East, I was talking about Pendle Hill. I'm still up here at the Golden Corral right now, so hold on. But if you look at these old neighborhoods, the reason why we're not seeing huge enrollment growth, because that's Pendle Hill right there. And that's all the houses in Pendle Hill that have students in them currently. There was a time where almost all those houses had students in them. So what we're saying is the new additions, which I'll show you in a minute, are packed. because so we're getting, just like they thought, the new additions are where our kids are coming from. The old additions don't have the kids in them, but that's why we're not seeing the huge enrollment growth, because what we're doing is replacing houses that used to have kids in it with new houses that have kids in it, but the old ones still exist, so,
Pull down just a little bit, would you please?
yeah. Where-
I'm
how-
sorry.
How far?
I mean, up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go, okay.
I can zoom out too, but, so I thought it was interesting, like if you go to, or you see what you, okay. Like if you go over here, one of the things I was looking at, because you can also, we have kids, a lot of people want to know why East kids are all scattered through here, because we have some in-district transfers, you have staff might work at East and their kid might live over there. So there are some kids that don't necessarily live in the Pendleton district that go there. But so when you add on Pendleton, this is another thing we thought was interesting. So there's Pendleton and East. So if we take off East and we go out, I was looking at like Hickory Hills East, like Hickory Hills East used to be packed out. You can see how many houses are out there, but the blue ones are the only one where there's an elementary age kid. So that's why I keep telling everybody, if nobody's gonna live in these houses with kids, we have to have new housing or we're gonna be in trouble, because if they're not filling these, because these people didn't move away, they just raised their kids and stayed. So the house wasn't really vacant. So I thought that one, but if you look at, out here at Gray Squirrel, like, there's only two.
All kids in here, man.
So
Sorry.
I wasn't gonna point out why you would know that. But if you look over here, like right there, that is Carrot Glen. So the new housing addition, Carrot Glen, and below that though, an older housing addition is Deerfield, I think that's the name of it. So you can see there aren't very many kids in there, but Carrot Glen, but when I show you Summer Lake in a minute, it's crazy out there. So, but it's also, like, there's that new addition off of 132. So these all didn't exist, and that's why our enrollment's staying the same, so, as these are coming in. So anyways, we were looking at this because if we ever get to the point where we need to shift lines, not major shifts or anything, but if we'd ever have to shift lines, we could see where the kids were at and if it's gonna make any difference. Like, you wouldn't want to, like, because at one point, at one point, I know there was a big fight about Hickory Hills East, what school went to, a long time ago for us that have been around. It wouldn't do us any good to move it right now, like, either way, because there's only like 20 kids out there. Like, it's not going to have a drastic impact that it once did. So I was really surprised by this, quite frankly. I didn't think there were that many kids in town still. Like, when we actually looked at it, there's a lot of kids. That's the town of Pendleton. There's a lot of kids still in town. Elementary age kids. So,
Okay, it's not an error on your part, but if you look up there, it still shows Charlene Doherty as Fall Creek Township trustee, right there in the center of town. That's incorrect.
where?
Right there, see where it says Fall Creek Township trustee?
Oh, right there. Yeah, this is Google. This is a Google.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
Google
little
thing.
bad.
Yeah, we didn't. Well, there's a lot of weird things on here because we had to correct earlier today. We had 2 kids living in Wolfies, but we realized what had happened is that the US 38, they left a space between the U and the S, and so it put it on this side of town. We closed them up and it put them back where they're supposed to. Because I was like, Drew and I were looking at this and we were like, this isn't gonna fly. Like, nobody's gonna believe we have kids living at Wolfies. So, I mean, it was
tables in the evening.
yeah. So another thing I think is, like, if you look at Hunsinger Farms down here, you can see it's pretty dense, newer addition down here. Hunsinger Farms, and there's quite a few out there.
This
So,
is just the elementary, so.
just elementaries. We haven't put the middle school and high school in because they don't really, we're not gonna do anything with it. We only have 1 school each, and so, we were just looking at different. And then we thought this one was interesting. I didn't zoom up, but this one, living in the penitentiary, was somewhat interesting. But there is actually a house right there. Like, when you zoom way up, you can see there's a house.
Yeah, that's my assistant.
But
Grades papers.
but when we first looked at it, I was like, I don't know if that one's right. So then Maple Ridge is so Maple Ridge right there. That's Maple Ridge Elementary, and then right there is Maple Trails, and so you can see it's pretty dense. And then, like, not a huge surprise, but there's Summer Lake.
My goodness.
Wow.
goodness.
That's Summer Lake and Springbrook together. But that's where all your kids in Maple Ridge are at.
That's insane right there.
So, but if you look, that's what those other additions used to look like, though. But if you look, almost every house out there, now this back here, where there's only 4 of those are all new. Like that just opened. That they just built that on the back half of Summer Lake. That's why they're only out there. But if you look here, I mean, just about every house has got a kid in there, elementary age kid. So, you guys have any questions or anything you want to specifically say?
Hamilton County?
Do what?
The Del Webb addition, is that Hamilton County?
So that's
Yes.
this right here
Yeah.
is the line.
Bannock Road.
So you can, if you look, I mean, you can see, here's our Maple Ridge kids.
Yeah.
And then you can see over here, this is Hamilton Southeastern, that's why there's,
Yeah.
but it's interesting, because back over, all the way to Geist, we got a, like we said, we have a kid living on Geist over here, right there. Right there, right off of Oleo.
That surprises me.
It's right next to the old quarry hole.
Doesn't surprise
Yep.
me.
Doesn't
And,
really?
and,
But he lived there, so we've got somebody living right there.
That is,
yeah.
but
Southeastern.
it depends where.
So is there anything you want to specifically see while we have this up that you're curious about?
Yeah, can you, what about like Fox Run?
I was gonna say, I had
Place? Do you
kids
have any
from
kids there?
guys that came to
No.
Florence.
You do-
No.
Because I can, it's really surprising. Here, I'll show you what. Fox Run particularly, there's nobody out there. Not elementary age. I'm trying to get there. There's Maple Trails. I lost my bearings for a minute. So right there, that's,
Of course, that'd be Pendleton Elementary though.
yeah, I'll turn Pendleton back on.
Okay,
Fall Creek Valley knows
So there's Fox Run,
that.
2.
too.
It's different.
But there's an East kid in there too, I think, if I
Oh,
remember right. Or maybe not, just 2. And then Jefferson Place is right there.
yeah, a few.
Oh, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 houses with kids in them.
With
So
at least
And
one
the new
child.
subdivision is going in
Which
right
one?
over here,
the Bain Welker it's
Yeah,
right
right
here, because it's this field right here.
200 homes, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was more than, is it not the
I-
Where
river?
is that exactly? I can't.
I
We're-
don't-
They're right here is,
Thirty-four
this is,
Interstate.
Right
Bain
at the
Welker's right here,
Oh,
this is Pine Lake or Mystic
Mystic Water
Waters.
now.
but-
Oh, okay, okay. Because
And-
right there's Foster Branch, right?
Yeah.
That area, okay.
Yeah, but if you look, really, there aren't very many kids out here either.
No, it's mostly older people living
But,
There's
but,
there's some
There you
blue
go,
dots
talking
in
about old people again.
but the
Well,
other thing that's interesting
You
about
say there
this,
aren't
John.
very many kids, but it could be that there aren't very many elementary aged.
Right. Yeah, I was just looking forward, like forward growth, like as
there. Well, all
we're,
the growth is gonna be going towards Indy, right?
yeah, and as we're moving, as we're moving up through, because I can tell you this, like kindergarten roundup, like we're doing it right now, it's almost exactly as where it was last year.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was just telling Mark that when we were sitting here a minute ago, it could be higher, but we have about the same number of kids now that we had last year at this time, but you can't really predict from now until the start of school. But we know generally it's about 20% don't go to Roundup, that we do get enrolled. Because we look back over time, it's usually somewhere between 78 and 80%. And so based on that number, if we only get 20%, that's gonna make that class around 306, which would be 20 kids lighter than kindergarten was last year.
How many did
Lower.
East have?
Huh? Okay, we're at 310. So, did we finish today, right, though? We've done all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Laura has the real time.
Up to the 100?
Pendleton's about 105. East was at 89, and Maple was 110. Last I heard, Maple was 110. They are finished, they're just finished. And then we've got that 310 included a few possible retention, or a few retentions.
So we won't need to add kindergarten teachers this year, or hopefully in the fall, or will?
If only place that would probably be an option would be Maple Ridge at this point. But they're ways away from it. Because we try to keep kindergarten around 22 kids, and so you're gonna have to get up about, like, I mean, we have 6 sections out there already. like, because we already added one last year, so that makes 7 sections of kindergarten if we added one.
Do we have rooms?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It'd just be a money thing, but again, when you have additional enrollment, that's additional funding, so it's not. You get into trouble when you add stuff without the additional kids. Anything else you want to look at?
That's good.
And we're gonna keep updating it. Like I said, we stumbled across it because he and I were talking about, there's gotta be a better way to make a map than what we're doing with, like old school with rulers
How
and
did you
pens.
guys find that? That's amazing.
Well, and then what the other thing is, we haven't done this yet, but we're also thinking about, like, we can add and look at all kinds of things. So we were curious about, like, any specific subgroup of kids we want to look at. We can kind of get an idea of where they're at, where our are we have those services in our building? Do we need to do something like that? So, but these aren't public maps, by the way. Like, they're within Google, but they're in our own accounts. It's not like something somebody can go get, and we also wouldn't. This would be really good information for the public, but I also don't want to identify every house in our town where there's a kid living, so we wouldn't do that either, so. Anyways, but yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. We were, and every time I look at it, I see something else that I hadn't thought of before that will help us as we make decisions as we're trying to control the growth in our district, so.
Go up to, the area 1,000 west and 400 south.
1,000 west, 400
See the very corner of the district up in the northwest corner.
like up by like Menards, or even further than that?
That'd be northeast, go the other side.
Towards LaBelle.
Oh,
1,000 south, 400, or 1,000 west, 400 south. There you get close, there you go.
yeah, I see.
Now you're too far now.
Well, there's 400 south, 1,000 west is right there, right? Atlantic Road?
Yeah, I'm just looking, where's the school line? Doesn't the school line go clear to 1,000 west up there, or is that turn into?
No, that's not us,
Farmstone
that's
Street.
not us up here. So our district cuts across 400 south.
That's the township, well, that's the township line in Adams. I don't know what it is over that way.
I thought it was
Yeah,
500.
no, we come down lower, cause we could go get you the map we have, it's awesome. Ours is, if you go down here to 6,
I thought 500 was the one, wasn't it? Because didn't Joel
In
live on
Adams,
500?
it's 400.
I grew up on 500.
You did,
yeah,
So it's further down, you mean? Closer
farther
to-
north.
Gotcha.
It's Menards.
I'm with you.
yeah.
Thank
you, Rose.
So ours goes, like this right here, the boundary for ours cuts right here and then goes up to 400. Like that. It has a really, I don't know why our school district boundary is an angle like that, but it goes from this point right here and then it goes down to 625. So these two houses are in our district. But everybody up this way is LaPel, Franklin LaPel. Which I didn't realize for about the first year that I was driving roads in the morning that I wasn't even in our own district. I thought I was out on 132, like seeing how the roads were, and I actually was on 132, but I left our district about immediately when I came out of town. So. Yeah, there's not anybody up there.
There's not.
And I'm just, the reason I bring it up is that's a lot of square acres with nobody, with no school-age children in it.
Yeah. And I was,
Saying you want to buy the land and then
Develop?
sell it to a
It's too late.
developer?
It's too late, then people already know that, they know that's valuable.
Well, it's sitting on a gold mine.
anything else you want to see while we have this?
That's good, very good.
Okay.
You're going to show the high school and middle school next?
We don't have them in yet.
Oh, okay.
We will, but I don't have them in yet. Like,
Okay.
we just, like I said, literally came across this, like, earlier, like, last part of last week, this week, because we were looking at those maps, because I was frustrated, that map you picked up the other day,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even read it, so I
That's
was
pretty
like,
tough.
somebody asked me a question, I went out and looked at it, and I was like, we gotta do better than this, like, I can't even figure out what this thing is.
Dynamite's big.
All right,
Thank you.
yeah, I thought that was an interesting piece of information, so, all right.
Thank you. On to 2.2, which is standard response protocol.
Okay, so I do not have a display for this one, but I thought I had this before, and this is, again, everything I'm telling you tonight is somewhat a work in progress, but I just want you to be informed. You can ask us questions, give us feedback on it. So what we're working towards as a district is a standard response protocol for basically any incident that we get. I guess I do have a handout I can use, but the standard response protocol, so that when we have incidences in any one of our buildings, we're all using common language, and that we also are using common language that is similar to all the other schools in the county, and so that our first responders know what we're saying. So if we have a certain type of response, and we have first, the sheriff shows up, or state police show up, or local police, they know what we're talking about. And so we did not invent this, as you will see. This comes from the I Love You Guys Foundation, which was started by a guy named John Michael Keyes. And his daughter was a victim of a school shooting in Colorado, not Columbine, but another one that occurred out there a few years after Columbine. And so he came up with this protocol because he realized as a parent just going through it that there was a gap. And so we went and found this one, and we, through Indiana School Safety Academy, through Prepare, all the different trainings we've been going through, we found this one. And then I noticed at a couple of the meetings I went to in town, with the other area superintendents, Franklin, LaPel, and Elwood, they had this response on the back of their IDs. They both did. And I'll show you that tag that we can use that our teachers can put on the back of their IDs, but I noticed they both did, so I started talking to them about it. Then I rolled it out to our school safety, and then we're going to talk about it as principals tomorrow. We have a principals meeting where we're going to talk about it one more time. But the goal is that we would be able to put this information we could actually put out to our community, because it's not going to give you the exact thing we're going to do. But what it's going to tell you is, if the school has a situation like this in their building, then they're going to make an announcement that, like, as an example, there's 5 categories that the school can do, but I'll just use the example as a hold. And a hold is that you stay wherever you're at. So as an example, if we have a medical emergency in a building somewhere, and we don't want kids in the hallway, we don't want them passing, or we have kids out at recess, we don't want to bring them in. We've had issues over the years where we've had mostly teachers, or other staff members have had medical issues in a hallway. And so you don't want the students to walk through there and see one of their teachers having a serious medical condition. So at that point, we would get on, there's terminology that would say, attention staff, we're going to go on hold for a minute. When hold means if you're at recess, you stay at recess. If you're in your classroom, you stay at your classroom, cafeteria, whatnot. And then what's nice about the I Love You Guys is it also comes with a community communication package to it, so that it gives us the emails and it gives us the announcements to make. So like if we're in any one of these situations for over like 15 minutes, then we have an email that we would send out to parents, hey, Maple Ridge Elementary was put on hold today because they had a medical incident in the hall. So it's all packaged for us, and they've written the scripts for us, and then so you could go through each one. So like hold would be as an example, like when I was at the high school, several times we had, you might have somebody fall in the hallway, even if it's not a staff member. Somebody falls in the hallway, you don't want 1,200 kids to come through that hallway. So you just hold for 5 minutes until the ambulance comes through and that kind of thing. So hold would be one. So that's an issue with the inside the building. And then secure would be the next level that we're looking at. Secure would be something happening outside the building. As an example, over the years, like Star Bank has been robbed a couple times. And so in those results, we would go to what would be known secure status, where that just means nobody's coming in and out of the building. We'd have signage up on the doors, building secure, nobody's coming out. We'd have an email response that could go out to community. Pendleton Heights High School's been put on secure, but people would know what it is, because the problem is you have so many things over the years where people have talked about soft lockdown, hard lockdown, like they don't even know what they are. And so we could give this parent handout, we could send that out at the beginning of the year. Here's what happens. If your school's on, secure mode, this is why, and this is what's happening. And then I think it would try to help our community understand what we're doing from level to level. And so then we go to lockdown, which I think we are all familiar with that. That's an immediate threat inside the building. We've locked down. Evacuate could be a lot of different reasons, like you might have to evacuate a building. And then shelter in place would be anything that like tornadoes. We have plans where we need to work on them, but we have plans for hazmat situations because we have train tracks that are really close to all of our buildings. I mean, we know what to do, but in that situation, you got to shelter, you got to get air handlers shut off, you got to get windows and doors sealed, all that kind of stuff, because you don't know what's always on those trains. So anyways, that's what we're working towards. And so the plan would be to refine it, work on it, and then roll it out at the start of next school year with the parent communication, like here's our new response protocol for all of our incidences. And then in board docs, I just attached a little ID thing that we could put on the back of the IDs. You can put signage up around your school, you can put them in your classrooms. So anyways, that's what we're working towards. So I kind of mentioned it to you before, but not really in any depth, so I kind of wanted you to see it. So does anybody have any questions about it or feedback?
For each one of those, there would be a follow-up email to parents.
Yep.
That would go out same day.
As soon as we came back off of it. So like
Okay.
if we were in secure, school's secure because there was a bank robbery in town, school's secure, nobody's coming in or out. And then, okay, we've been given the all clear by local authorities, whoever robbed the bank or whatever has been apprehended, and school's back to normal. So there would be communications for all those, so. And then this also has another part to it for reunification, a whole nother protocol that fits into this. So like if we had to evacuate, and like if there was ever a point we had to take our students off site for some reason, there's a whole nother part to this they have a reunification protocol, they have parent, all the cards and and it's all free, by the way, it's all done for free. So we just have to acknowledge that I Love You Guys Foundation are the ones that developed it, so. And then we're gonna work this into all of our school safety plans. So, so in the fall, when we kick off the school year next year, as part of that PD, we'll talk through this new protocol, we'll work through the new safety plans, we'll communicate with the parents. So it's kind of, because parents are always asking us why we don't share we want to know about what you're going to do in these situations. We still can't give them the extreme details, but at least we could give them the different types of levels and what would prompt us to go to that type of a level. So,
Yeah, I think that would give some peace of mind.
Very much so.
so any questions, concerns?
That's good.
All right.
Thank you. On to Rethinking High School.
All right.
Still
Now,
yours.
this is going to be a tag team between a couple of us because this is very, very new. And this presentation that I sent you probably is not how it's going to come out.
Oh.
So, but now what we've got here, I'm not going to go through all 46 slides. You can read through those if you want. I'm going to give you the high-level version. So here's what the state is doing, and actually, it's not a complete surprise to us, and we've been trying to align what's going on at our high school, knowing that this was coming down the line. The short version of this is they're going to eliminate all of the diplomas as you currently know them. So there's not going to be a Core 40 diploma, there's not going to be an academic honors diploma, there's not going to be any of the normal Indiana diplomas. They're going to have two diplomas. One's going to be called the GPS diploma, and one's going to be called the GPS Plus diploma. The GPS stands for Graduates Prepared to Succeed. And so there will only be two diplomas. The way you earn a diploma is it's going to be a point system instead of a credit system, but it's also got credits involved. And I think this is going to cause a lot of people problems because it's not extremely easy to understand. So the point system, you can earn a point by earning a credit, but you can't earn a credit by earning a point. So you have to accumulate 40 points. 20 of your points, you have to accumulate those points by earning credits. So that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be the easiest thing to understand. So like you get a credit for, as an example, you come in as a ninth grader, you take English 9, you get a credit, that counts as 1 point. Take Algebra 1, that counts as a point. So you have to get 20 points. And then you have, in foundation courses, they're calling them. Then you have to earn another 20 points some other way. You can earn them through classes, you can earn them through internships, you can turn them with work-based learning. There are many other ways to get the extra 20 points. They they think that what's gonna happen is you'll have a lot of kids that essentially only do like, as we think traditional high school, only in ninth and 10th grade when this comes into effect. Because the last 2 years, they'll be doing other things to earn their points. And it could be good for those kids, because sitting there and taking a ton of levels of math that you may never use in your life may not be useful for them. So they get them work-based experience, those types of things. I should say, particularly if anybody's watching the live stream right now, this is not even expected to go into effect until 2029. So it'd be the graduating class of 2029. You can adopt it early. The reason why I say that is because that's a long time, and there's several elections between now and then. And there could be a lot of things that could change with this. In fact, the person that designed this, his name was Jason Callahan. He worked at the DOE, and he resigned already. Like, he resigned 2 weeks after they released this, because there's a governor's election coming up, and the DOE has appointed positions, and you'll start to see people jumping out of the DOE because they're gonna go if they get good opportunities, they're gonna go jump out before the switch in governor. Like, so that'll happen all the way up through December, because they'll switch depending on who wins the governor's race, you could have a new Secretary of Ed, you could have all these new offices. So you'll see people starting to leave. But the point of this is, and I'll let Drew see if I missed anything here in a minute, we've already been working towards work-based learning. We've already been working on the Common Core classes. We've got all those teachers that are working on the Indiana College Core, Common Core, College Core, where they're working on dual credit programs through IU, and then we're also working on the work-based learning experience. Our newest business teacher is really doing a good job with the co-op program and getting kids and numbers in that. So they've already been kind of tipping their hand this kind of thing was coming. So we've already been in some ways moving towards this. So it won't be completely new to us. We'll just have to wait and see really how it shakes out.
I haven't read through all this, I didn't see it till tonight, but what does this do to our special ed kids?
Well, you can still do a traditional program if you want, and there'll still be special ed programming. But has that been mentioned before? I'll let him cover that,
In
because.
terms of special ed, it's possible, I mean, their goal, it was in late March, watching the State Board of Ed when Secretary Jenner was presenting this to the board, her goal is that obviously this benefits all students, not at all interests, whether you're going to enroll into a college, enlist in the military, go straight into employment. Their push really, even before this came out, was those big 3 E's, enrollment, enlistment, and employment, is what schools should be redesigning themselves for. Mark mentioned the work-based learning. That's definitely something that is highlighted in here a lot. If you want to work through that, especially the Indiana the GPS Plus, that one of the requirements of that. And again, I guess I'll echo what Mark said. Like, none of this is final. Like, this is just what they've proposed, and the proposal just open it up to allow them to take feedback and then potentially change this. And I'm sure there will be changes, and they have admitted that. But what Secretary Jenner continued to say was the goal of trying to give kids flexibility, that you are not locked into having to take Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 in order to graduate. Like, there are some requirements in terms of you have to take Algebra 1, you have to take English 9, you have to take English 10, U.S. History. There are still some of those core foundational academic courses that they are still prioritizing. But once you hit, and they are in the presentation saying that the foundation is in your freshman and your sophomore year. Like, that's really where you're picking up the academic courses. And then when you get to junior and senior is when you have a lot of flexibility in terms of, do you want to take more AP courses? I apologize. Take AP courses, dual credit courses, and all of those give you points. If you want to, even junior ROTC is listed in here as being points that they're earning, with the goal being that you have to get 20 points that junior and senior year. So I talked with Mr. Rose at the high school, Mr. Taylor at the high school. I mean, there are the flexibility is nice, but again, what the devil as usually is in the details, so we'll see what actually rolls out. It says this is what will be the rules of the game that we have to play.
So we are anticipating that they're taking public comment now, and they're supposed to release the legislative rules, the state board is, and then they're taking more public comment, and then they're going to the State Board of Ed would adopt this in the fall. But that's what I was saying, but by the time any of us get this implemented, like, we may have a whole new group, so. But it did make a news splash, and because when they released it, then people thought that it was, like, this was imminent, this is what's gonna happen. I mean, there is some good parts, the flexibility is good, but I will say I've been to 2 or 3 meetings where there've been some really, academic folks that are really worried about this and really worried about that they're watering down the high school curriculum, and there's there won't be a standard measure anymore. Like right now, if you get a high school diploma, that's pretty much a standard measure of your ability. And so they're worried about it is if you have 50 different ways to get your 20 points, that it may be harder to measure people coming out of school. That's one concern I've heard. And then the other one I've heard, which I didn't even think about, is all the border states or the border school districts that, like, for instance, Union County, what is it, Ken? College Corner?
County College Corner.
So they split the state, and so they have residents in both states. They actually have 2 school boards, I found out, and they have two taxing systems.
East side of town, west side.
Yeah, so I don't really know why anybody would want to take a job there. It's like in central office, because it sounded really rough. But anyways, in that case, they're kind of in a bind because Ohio's diploma standards in Indiana is very similar. But if Indiana moves to this, there's nobody else like this. Like, it'd be the only system like that in Indiana. So, or I mean, in the country, not Indiana. Wow. And they were talking the same thing with Ohio, like Illinois. There are some districts on the border of Illinois and Kentucky that might have kids on both sides. So there's a lot of stuff to still work out, but.
What does that do to the alternative school program? Just
Unsure. I mean, there's a lot of questions like that. Some of those, procedures and processes and the structures that we have in place now is how does this change that? I mean, they're still saying you still have to get, you will still have certain classes that kids have to take, and then how you get those 20 points, it appears that there will be a lot of flexibility. But following up on what Mark said, one of the things that the State Board of Ed was discussing at their meeting when this was presented is trying to make sure that colleges understand what this diploma means now. And if I graduate with a GPS plus, what does that mean if I want to go into IU or Northwestern or Harvard or whatnot, and making sure that they understand what our students have done in order to earn that diploma. So there is a lot to
I
work
noticed
through.
in there also, they were still talking about ACT and SAT.
Sure.
And a lot of
Yeah.
places don't even care if you have it anymore.
They're bringing it back, though.
Yeah,
They're bringing it
I did
back.
hear that.
Yeah.
so, like you say, they got a lot of tweaking to do on it.
And from a pragmatic standpoint, the record keeping of this is gonna be intense.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like, to try to keep track of if everybody has their own,
Thing.
like, if there are so many ways that people going in different ways to get their 20 points, and keeping track of the 20 points and verifying that they earned whatever they had to earn to get the 20 points, that's gonna be,
I think that could be very difficult for students who are not motivated anyway to push them along in any path, you know?
That might be a spot where your alternative school can come in and be very useful to a student like that.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Also
it's-
may be more motivated
Some
to
will.
do some,
Some
do the
will.
different options than Algebra 2,
Yeah.
Right.
because it just feels overwhelming, but,
When some of the competencies that, again, in this document and what was presented that would be required to graduate as a point are external competencies. So the examples that they gave that in terms of communication and collaboration, leading a scout troop, church youth group, volunteering, student-run enterprise that they have to do outside of school. Well, a school would obviously still have to make sure that they've completed that in order to earn that competency in order to graduate. So the record keeping of that is
So if they're
daunting.
doing that instead of a class, I'm trying to put myself in a parent's spot. Where is my child like during the school day, you just expect your child to be at
Right.
school between certain hours. So what happens to that school day for juniors and seniors if my child has picked things that don't happen during the school day? Like, where are they? What are they doing?
Sure. Well, I think that the example that I gave in terms of that external competency was outside the school day. So then it's on the parent to say, you need to be a part of this organization or whatever that might
Yeah, but
be.
do they come to school still during the school day?
As far as I know, yes, because they're still gonna have to.
Just like, if I picked, A, B, C, D, I'm doing all these things here to help me get my diploma, none of those are taking place during the school day, and I'm a senior, why do I need to be at school during the school day?
I'm sure that question will be asked many times.
And if I'm a mom, I'm like, I want you at school during the school day.
Yeah, keep you busy during the day.
Well, just that safe peace, it's peace of mind for parents sometimes to just know their child is at school.
And they are really pushing work-based learning. So during the school day, students go out to partner, which sounds great, but again, one of the things that has been brought up is that the business community has to be
Into it.
ready to accept however many kids we're getting ready to say, hey, go get a job, or we're gonna help you get this job in this pathway and your interest. But there has to be capacity around us in order to do that. And if every school is doing that,
There's only so many.
There's only so many jobs
right,
that are.
right. So that, again, there's a lot of things to work through.
Well, I wonder if
And
there's.
do they get paid for that, or not get
I would say
paid
they'd
for
be,
that?
they'd be clocking in and out.
In many,
I
I
don't
mean,
know, it's
now
a
we
lot
have
of
our
work on a
co-op program and our
business
work-based
to-
learning, they do,
To
but,
have that unskilled person.
You know, some of this happened when I was at the alternative school too, because we had some kids that had some outside jobs that they could do, and they were actually getting some form of credit for it.
Right.
And then we had kids that finished all their classes as a senior by March at the latest.
Yep.
Bye, you just graduated.
Right.
There's no reason for you to be here. And they didn't want to be there either.
yeah.
Now, they couldn't get their diploma yet, but get it in May with everybody else. But, you know, we had some of those, I won't call them especially problems, but they did come up where parents were saying, well, what's my kid doing? You know, why are they not at school? Well, they've completed all of their credits. They don't need to be here anymore.
Well, and we're going to have to be able to screen the people that they're working for or doing these other activities, because if it's our program and our responsibility, if something happens there,
Yeah.
we're gonna be responsible right along with the business person, and, you know,
Yeah.
boy,
The
what a
business
big
person
problem.
would have to go through the same state checks that someone would do if they're gonna be a substitute
Volunteer.
teacher.
Yeah.
For Mr. Rhodes, Gary Rhodes is the new business teacher who's heading up our work-based learning program at the high school now. Co-op is what it's been called for, yeah. And he, this year, has done a great job in kind of revamping all of those things, the agreements that we have with our business partners, the different contracts and teacher, or the parents understanding and signing off on the different things that the students are going to be doing. He goes out into the businesses, checks up on the kids and talks with the businesses. So, but again, if we triple or quadruple the number of students, then that is, you know, probably triple or quadruple the visits and whatnot that he's having to go do. So, I mean, there are unintended consequences that will come as a result of changing anything. I'm not saying they aren't worth it, but there will be things that
the people who are making it aren't considering, and as we look at it out in the field as well, don't consider until we go through it.
And we used to do, when I worked for Payless Kroger, we had co-op students, so, and I'd have to, like, the person that represented the student
Right.
would come in and sit down with me and say
Mhm.
how they're doing, and, you know, it's been a long time, but we
Yep.
used to,
Yep, Gary does that.
yeah.
That's a lot.
Yep,
That's a lot.
and we'll keep you posted as it goes, but it'll be, I think we'll have a better idea in the fall after it's gone through this next public comment period and just kind of what, what they approve, because the state board could even approve it in the fall, and then it could be changed again. I mean, because the state board is an appointed board, and so.
I see the counselors,
Be a nightmare to keep up.
needing to really help a lot of kids, because there's always the kid who, they don't want to go to college, but they don't know what they want to do. So that counselors and
14 years
parents are
old.
really going to need to help them figure out which direction to go. And when you're, I don't know, a sophomore, it can change,
Yep, for sure.
Absolutely.
change and change.
Yeah, the other thing that that has been brought up is just the academic rigor of some of the courses we have seniors and juniors take, because with this kind of system, if you're going to have them take foundational courses as freshmen and sophomores and then go out and work-based learning, you're gonna could have a lot younger kids taking government and personal financial responsibility and AP anything that they may not be ready for, like they may not have the skills for that, and so on that system, they may be taking classes, they're way younger than they have been accustomed to. And so that's something that we have to think about, because just because you can take AP government may not mean that you have the vocabulary to take, or skills, or the reading skills or whatnot to take some of the upper level classes. You may not understand some of the things that are going on in there, so we'll just have to take, it's gonna be a lot of changes as this goes through.
As long as it's rolled out slowly.
Well, you
Not-
got, so,
And a lot of training,
well,
not
2029 are your current seventh
not
graders.
just thrown at you, right?
Seventh graders, huh?
So your 2029 are your current seventh graders, so we got 1 year. So because you'd have to have it in place by the time they come in as ninth graders in 2 years,
Okay.
right? Yep. So it'll be, it could be a challenge. But anyways,
Okay, this concludes our work session,
Is this something
unless,
you need to,
It's just, I was
Information.
inviting you to the conference. That
Oh,
was just,
oh.
it used to be E-Lead, is what you've probably heard it called.
What is the time on it? Say it.
It's 8 to 4.
did you adjourn?
any other thing, I'm open for adjournment, have a motion.
So moved?
Second?
Penny?
Andy Brown? Yes. Buck Evans?
Yes.
Kevin Ginder?
Yes.
Mike Hanna?
Yes.
John Lord?
Yes.
Mark Thompson?
Yes.
Bill Hutt?
Yes.